Welcome to Beyond the Arc with Coach Gebbia, presented by GEICO. Coming up on this week's edition, we'll talk about the season finally being here. We'll look back at the holiday season, and we'll talk about Jade Edwards, who made the preseason All-Patriot League team. All that is coming up right after this.
Thanks for the ride along, Captain. I've never been in one of these before, even though GEICO is... Here we go.
You got cut off there. What were you saying?
No.
Maybe that GEICO's been proudly serving the military for over 75 years? Is that what you wanted to say?
Mm-hmm.
I have to say, you seemed a lot chattier on TV.
GEICO, proudly serving the military for over 75 years.
You okay back there, buddy?
And welcome into the show. And Coach Gebbia, finally here. The season right around the corner, mere hours away until the first game of the season. Looking back on it, did you think a couple months ago that we would actually be here?
You know, probably not, Dan. Honestly, to put that out there, I was like always cautiously optimistic of hoping that we were going to be here, but just seeing what's happening across the country, and with even with non-conference games, a lot of cancellations and postponements and moving things around. I'm thinking, is that going to be possible after another holiday, right? A Christmas holiday, New Year's. But here we are. I think our players have done a great job of, making good choices and continuing to test negative, which puts us in a great position. So you just got to rely on everyone else doing their job.
Now, when you talk about the players, the student athletes, and you guys, how did you guys handle the holidays? How did you handle Christmas time, New Year's? And, obviously it's a time when everyone wants to get together. Certain areas don't allow that. How did you guys internally handle that as a team?
Well, we talked about not going home and not being the Grinch, right? Not allowing them. But honestly, this year's group has been terrific with things like that because they really want to play. So because they want to play, they're willing to sacrifice, being home with their families at that point in time. And, they've been home for 8 months with their families. I think they're ready to just have a little bit of a break. And so, it wasn't like I had to talk them into it, or they felt like no one came to me and said, listen, coaches, I don't think this is fair. They felt like, if this is what we want to do, this is the sacrifice we're going to make. And so none of them went home for the most part. Our local kids might have stopped by at home for a day or something, but I gave them 2 days off just to kind of like reprogram and refresh their legs a little bit. And, we came back on the 27th and we're ready to rock and roll, and they were great.
Great. And, you've had time now to get in the gym and have full practices. As is it finally back to the way that practices were, or are you still using your microphone thing, or how is the practice looking at this point?
Better than probably the last time we spoke. We're doing what we normally would do in practice. If that's what you're asking, we're going 5-on-5. They still have to wear masks in practice. But we're doing what we should be doing at this point. It's just, we're just not as in shape as we normally are at this point in the year, because you played 11 non-conference games typically, and you head into conference and you just have those jitters out a little bit more, right? Just working out the kinks, and we just haven't worked out any kinks yet. So, as we move into this first game, I have no idea what our kinks are going to be, although I see some things in practice. But yeah, it's tough that way, I think, is just not knowing. There's just a lot of unexpected. And so we just have to kind of roll with things as they come to us.
And you talk about the unexpected and maybe question marks. At this point, what are some of the question marks that are at the top of your mind here as you get set to lead into the season and the opening weekend?
Yeah, I would say the biggest question mark is just the bench. What are we going to get from our bench? Because most of it is freshmen coming in. So there's a lot of question marks when you have a lot of freshmen subbing in. And then, when they get in, I think a question mark is how well will they produce? Because obviously as a coach, you don't want all 4 of them in at one time. You're trying to avoid that, right? But you may not with foul trouble. So that could be an issue. And I think that's one of the things I have to look at is we've been talking to the older players and the ones with experience that you can't foul. Normally we say that because we just don't want you to foul, but now we really can't foul. There's only 10 of us, A, and B, 4 of them are freshmen. So you just keep that in mind and just be cognizant of what you're doing. I actually think the freshmen can do stuff when they get in there. I'm excited for them because they're very talented and they could score and they're learning how to play defense and all that. But those are things that it makes you stay awake at night, right? Thinking about putting 4 of them in together. So that's a huge thing for me, is just focusing on that, but knowing that this is also a learning year. So you're moving forward with allowing things to happen, allowing mistakes, and then just fixing them as we move forward.
When you look at the fact of, you mentioned the 4 newcomers and the 4 freshmen, who do you think of that group is the most ready to make a big impact, or that we're going to see a lot of or from here, especially early on this season?
Yeah, I would say it changes from day to day, right? Because it depends on the situation. Ivy Bales, I don't know if I talked a lot about her before, but she is somebody that's probably picking everything up the fastest right now at both ends of the floor. And she's able to kind of take in the information and apply it for the most part. I mean, she's still making mistakes, sure, but they all are. So I would say that because she's the only real guard sub we have, that you're going to see a lot of her early on, especially if you do have foul trouble, she's going to be in there. And then Kayla and Emily Johns they're all going to play. I would say Emily Johns had showed me the most scoring wise in the first part of our practices, showing me that she could put the ball in the basket against upperclassmen, which was nice to see. And then Kayla, I just love how bouncy she is, and she loves to run, and she gets out in transition and runs hard, and I really like that. So I think you're going to see a little from all of them. I think it's going to depend on need in games and then foul trouble.
Now we've got to talk about Jade, and she made the preseason All Patriot League team. She's your returning leader in scoring, returning leader in rebounds. How have you seen her game actually evolve here over these last few months, even given all the issues that we've had to get to where we are?
I would say with Jade, I mean, we had a conversation at the end of the year last year about like, wow, now you know what it's like to play 35 minutes a game. And she kept saying, yeah, I wasn't ready, right? So I think that understanding of the pressure's on you and you have to perform and still play both ends of the floor, like that was hard for her. And I think she understood that and took that to heart. And then if there's one kid that's ready to go, it's her. She's in the best shape of all the players coming back. So it's good to have your best player in the best shape, right? You always love that. So I know she's ready. I would say she worked a ton on her ball handling because she's now going from the 4 to the 3. And she might have to play some 4 this year, but that's really not her primary position. And then I would say, she brought her mid-range game. She really worked on that, knowing that a lot of times if they're going to shut you out from getting to the rim, which is what they tried to do last year, you got to have a mid-range game and you got to be able to shoot the 3. And I think we talked a lot about people sagging off her all year and you just not shooting. And I said, you got to come ready, guns blazing from 3. Because once you start making those, I'm not sure what they're going to do to guard you. So you have to open up the year being able to score from the perimeter. So it's easy on you for the rest of the year, or easier. It's never going to be easy for Jade, right? But easier.
Now, as this first weekend is here, it's against Loyola, Saturday and Sunday. What are your GEICO keys to the games this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, based on last year, because that's all I can go on, I would say executing our zone offense. They played a lot of zone against us last year, and just being able to read the gaps and the openings and things like that. Getting into our offense quickly. They pressed, and we kind of allowed them to press and just waste time off the clock. So we worked a lot on that in practice. And then transition defense. I thought the first game they kind of shoved it down our throats a little bit, and we weren't ready to play transition defense. So those are the areas in practice that we worked a ton on. And then obviously when they play man, just being able to go make miss, because they go make miss, not us. And so just being able to adjust to that in the course of the game and getting into your man stuff quickly, getting into your zone stuff quickly.
Well, that'll do it for the first edition of Beyond the Arc with Coach Gebbia, presented by GEICO. For all the latest, be sure and check out aueagles.com. For Coach, I'm Dan. We'll talk to you next time.